Buckeyes, the Big Ten, and the rest of college football. We tackle it all in the Breakdown with Joshua Perry.
Every Monday this year time, we talk to Joshua Perry, all things college football. But of course, you know, when we talk to Joshua today, there's nothing on the docket, buddy, other than Ohio State and Michigan. I hope you know that. That's all we're planning on talking about. So welcome in. Are you feeling nervous at all like I am, or are you like Tyvis, you just have utter confidence?
I'm nervous. I don't, Tyvis, congratulations. Like, glad that you feel very confident. This is what it must have been like in the 90s. You know, that's how I feel right now, how people felt during the Cooper era. And there's no disrespect to Ryan Day, but I can't get the last few meetings out of my mind.
Josh, really? Really? What is it about this Wolverine team that scares you the most?
Well, it's not really anything about the Wolverines team. Let me be perfectly clear about that. I do think Bryce Underwood has played much better. The last performance he had against Maryland was really good. They started to utilize the tight ends. It's the same team that they've always wanted to be. Like, they have injuries in the running back room. They just keep rolling guys out there, so you know that's what they want to do. Defensively, they started off really aggressive, and then they kind of toned it back. But now they've found their flow a little bit. They can't stop the pass, right? So if Jeremiah and Carnell are healthy and they play, I feel like that's the edge in the game right there. But if it's the same group that we saw on Saturday against Rutgers, it certainly feels like it becomes a little bit more of a stickier matchup.
Yeah, I'm with you, Joshua. Like, it's not about anything I see from Michigan. Like I saw, but again, you brought up the running back injuries, right? They're so injured at running back, Tyvis. They even have Max Bredesen, who's their fullback, who's like their big blocking. He was on crutches on the sidelines of that Maryland game. It's like everyone's hurt, and yet they still had this dude, Bryson Cusdole, ran for 100 yards and 3 touchdowns because that's the only thing they do well. But other than that, yeah, they're very one-dimensional. I'm not worried about this Ohio State defense against them. If it was any other team than that stupid maize and blue helmet with their dumb winged logo on it, I would think this is a 25-point game easily. But because of the intangibles, that's what gets me nervous. And as someone who lived through the Cooper era, you brought that up, Joshua. Like, that's the thing. I have those nerves that are shredded right now. And the last 4 years have done nothing to make me feel good about that. So help me feel good about the matchup without all the intangibles. What's the part you like most for Ohio State coming into this game?
Yeah, so, I mentioned Michigan's defense, and early on in the year, they were overly aggressive. Wink Martindale looked like Don Brown at times early in the year, and so they toned it back, and I think it's allowed their front seven to just kind of go out there and play. But the issue is their back end has kind of been hanging out there to dry, and so you think Julian saying throwing to some of the weapons Ohio State has, there will be shots downfield. Like, this is the matchup where if you want to try to throw it on a Michigan defense, I think you can. Now, trying to run it into their defense, maybe you don't feel as good about that. But once again, I don't love the way the offensive line has looked over the last few weeks. I think our running backs do a really good job of making the most of some of the looks. They're hard to tackle. We mentioned Michigan. They want to run the football. We know that's what they want to do. Their offensive line is really young, and they've gotten much better over the course of the year. But you look at Ohio State and their front seven and just the monsters that they have up there, like, they should be able to build a pretty good run wall. And then if you have to make it a Bryce Underwood to Andrew Marsh kind of game, which Marsh, their wide receiver who's a freshman, that guy's going to play in the NFL. Really good player. I like the way Iggy's played this year. Right? Like, I love the way Caleb Downs has looked this year. So, once again, the matchup favors Ohio State. Like, very clearly, Ohio State is the better team. This is a game that they should win. Doesn't matter that it's on the road. None of that matters. But it's the thing that we said last year, and none of us anticipated that outcome. And so that's where I think if you're a fan, you get a little bit nervy. It has nothing to do with these teams. It's just this idea of it's the one thing that's been standing in the way the last couple years.
I was watching Big Noon hit this past Saturday, and obviously they had Dave Portnoy, and he was talking to Urban about the game. And he says that he did this thing where it's pressure.
Gosh, that was so annoying.
And I was laughing.
So annoying.
I was laughing at it.
I haven't watched him all year long. I refuse to watch that.
Good for you. You don't need to watch it. But it was just funny to hear him say that because to them, their recipe is he feels that they just need to be in the game by halftime. If they get to halftime and they're in the game, he feels like that they're going to win. And for as long as I can remember, Ohio State has always been one of the best at second half adjustments. Do you feel like that's not the case anymore when it comes to this game?
Well, no, I mean, like, I think generally Ohio State in the second half has been really good under Ryan Day. Like, first half against Rutgers probably wasn't the prettiest half. And like these guys just, they just keep putting pressure on teams against Penn State this year, right? Like that first half was a little bit weird. And then Ohio State comes out in the second half and it's not a game at all. It's the mental aspect there against Michigan where you feel like, okay, do you start pressing whatever the case is? And it's so unique because like as a player, and I was talking to Jake Butt, who does a great job on BTN, Michigan Wolverine, guy from Pickerington, wish he would have played with us. But I was talking to him about this game, and our mentalities right now are completely different than they were in college. I always respected Michigan. I never went into that game feeling like I was going to be nervous to play those dudes. Like, okay, come on out here and let's play the ball game. And he said in college every year, like they would try to talk themselves into the fact that they could win the game. And then they would end up just like something would happen and immediately in game, they're like, we're not going to win. And now he's workshopping ideas on like, oh yeah, this is the edge for Michigan. And then I got to be like, but Jake, on paper, that's not really an edge. And he's like, yeah, I know, but it's a mental thing there. So I could see where Portnoy is like, oh, get it to halftime. On paper, that's still not good enough. But once again, I think people are leaning into this idea of like some sort of mental block when it comes to this game that I hope just doesn't exist. And frankly, Ryan Day's looked much better this year in terms of his, the way he talks to the media and his approach. I'm not sure it's going to be a factor, but it's the one thing that's a question.
Joshua Perry joining us in the Bryant Heating and Cooling Systems fan guest hotline. By the way, if you go to our YouTube channel, you can actually see Joshua if he sounds a little different because we actually have the video linked up. So nice little surprise for you there. Thanks for doing that, Joshua. And Jake Butt, you mentioned he'll be on with us 24 hours from now. We're going to have him on tomorrow to talk a little bit of that.
Love that.
We're keeping all the Pickerington guys on the show this week as much as we can. So I want to ask you about memories going up to Ann Arbor. 2013 game, that video was online again this weekend, kind of making the rounds of the tunnel where that the way they have that dumb setup anyway, where both teams have to go in and out of the same tunnel. Naturally, there's been plenty of dust-ups. Ask Michigan State about it, but you guys don't have to. You both were there, I believe, right, when that happened. What do you recall from that particular Michigan game in 2013 when there was that dust-up in the tunnel between the two teams?
I mean, you get both of the teams coming down the tunnel at the same time, and like there's somebody who's bound to start barking. And we had guys who were edgy going up there, and we had a bunch of dudes who like to run their mouth. I'm gonna put it like that. And so that tunnel situation gets a little bit tense because they've got guys who are the same way. And then that trickled onto the field for us. That's a game, if you remember, we had a couple guys get ejected. Marcus Hall has a moment that we see on T-shirts and we see on memes nowadays. And that's kind of the angst and the hate that goes along with that. Now, I think that our rivalry is very respectful. You talked about Michigan State. Like, there's no love lost there. That gets really ugly. So that was one of those spots where, like, you kind of look back and it's like, it's the rivalry. We don't care. But, like, I hope the guys can keep it clean from that standpoint. But, again, like, being in that environment, it's weird. And it's everybody hates you when you go up there. We needed Tyvis Powell to have some heroics, Mr. Save the Day over there so we could get a win in 13. We went up there in 15, and it was way less dramatic. We stomped them. Like, it wasn't even close. Beat their ass, 42-13 last time we faced Michigan, right? So, like, you never know, but the environment, it always delivers.
You mentioned that you had some guys who like to run their mouth, is how you put it. Is Tyvis one of those guys?
Tyvis always runs his mouth. That's the problem. Like, you can't distinguish between Tyvis talking smack and Tyvis just talking. Like that's the difference.
Hey, I like to make the game. It's the only time in that game that I really talked a lot was 2015. 2015, because that was the year that it was Jim Harbaugh's first year, and it was, this is the year. Oh, they're going to get you guys this year. And we had Chris Spielman come in, and I'm telling you guys right now, it's a different thing. They're going to be good this year. And we went up there and beat the brakes off of him. And me and Vaughn was like an AM radio talking to Jim on the sideline. Where is Jim at? He was talking all this. Y'all getting beat worse than when Brady was the coach. So y'all might need to fire him now. Oh, it was going.
That's what I hope.
So
we get
I'll say this real quick.
Yeah.
In 13, Tyvis had himself an Igmanosin moment where after he got the pick, the ball boy was trying to get the ball back, and Tyvis was doing this thing where he would put the ball out, and then the ball boy reached for it, and then he'd pull the ball back. It was hilarious.
They don't need it no
that
more.
Was one of
Their
the
season's over, Josh. Season's over.
What do they need the football for? Yeah, get the new footballs for next year.
It was so good.
Joshua, I hope next Monday when we talk, Tyvis and I, we put our beards on the line. So hopefully we have our beards, and we will be talking about. Yeah, they're on the line.
Well, I know
weekend.
You've done it, but Tyvis,
beards on the line.
You might be an ugly dude without a beard.
Find out on Monday. Among other things, it'll all be here, and we'll break it down with you next week, Joshua. Thanks for taking the time this morning. All right.
All right, appreciate you guys. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving. There you go. Joshua Perry joining us on the Bryan Heating and Cooling Systems Fan Guest Hotline. The buzzer is next.